Hello friends and fans of the Frosty Nut, and welcome to another video on the difference between SL3 and WinWing, Autobrake units and Chrono. And of course, what you're going to build is greatly dependent on what you're going to obtain. Now, my personal preference is that if you're building a full-size flight simulator that you're going to be sitting at and entertaining your friends, then use the SL3. Go for the SL3 because you will also get the terrain on ND for the captain, the landing gear, and the Chrono and Autobrake, which he sells and makes, and of course the brake pressure gauge, which I do not have at this time, but I'm hoping to get when I can. So if you're building a full-size one, go for SL3. If you're building a desktop version, go for WinWing. Now, I personally am building a desktop version because I simply don't have the room at the moment to build a full-size one, so I'll be going for the desktop version. The differences between the two is very minimal. I've got to say this much. Very minimal. Now, the first thing you'll notice is when you look at the landing gear lights and the brake fan lights, you'll notice that the SL3 ones are bigger and the WinWing ones are smaller and brighter. In fact, I would say they're probably too bright, but they're certainly smaller and noticeable. Also, with the Chrono, you'll see that this one has the max the 7.3 modules that he's using, so he doesn't have the double dots showing between the hours, minutes, and seconds, which is unfortunate, but a limitation of those modules. Whereas with the WinWing, it does have not only the double point decimals for the separating the hours, minutes, and seconds, it has the smaller, more realistic version for the seconds. The SL3 doesn't because of the modules, because that is the way that the modules are. Now, looking at the dimensions of them, the dimensions for the Chronos and the Autobrake units look identical. In fact, even the screw hole locations are exactly the same on both modules. You'll see the screw hole locations and the one over there, which is up here. Technically, I would probably dare say that you could swap over the modules, the SL3 into the WinWing unit, except for the fact that the WinWing unit is one circuit board for both the Chrono and the Autobrake, whereas SL3 are separate circuit boards. However, I dare say it would probably not be impossible to swap over the buttons or at least the lights on the SL3 to the WinWing because they look identical sizing. I'm not going to do that, but I'm just saying it looks like it's possible. Now, if we turn the lights on, all the lights on, and let's have a look at the actual light comparison. Now, you'll see because the WinWing is one circuit board, of course the Chrono goes into display mode just as it does in the simulator, whereas unfortunately the SL3 doesn't, but that's because it's a separate circuit board. It's not one circuit board. That might be something for SL3 to consider down the line, making it one complete circuit board. The other thing is the gap with the SL3 MIP. The gap here is a lot thicker, and I've always thought about this. It's a lot thicker than what it is on the WinWing. The WinWing looks like it's more realistic for that. But again, it's no big deal. The Chrono from the SL3 functions the way it should in all aspects of a Chrono. The only difference is that it doesn't have the spring action on the Chrono elapsed time clock. It doesn't have the spring action, and the knobs are smaller to what they are on the WinWing. The WinWing knobs are a lot bigger. Also, the writing on the WinWing is bigger, and the set button is smaller, and the Chrono buttons stick out a little bit more. So just minor cosmetic differences there, and I do say minor cosmetic. Now, if we turn we'll look at the lights too. The fonts, you can see that the WinWing unit is very bright, and it's a little bit hard to read with the focus of the camera. So I'll try and set that camera to autofocus at the moment to try and show you that. 1 second. I did have it on manual focus mode, but if we go to autofocus, that might be the better option. So we'll try and do that so I can show you up close. There we go. So now if you look at the lights there, you can see that the font is quite readable. The colors are still quite nice, but it is very bright. Now you might not notice how bright that is from your point of view from the video, but trust me, those of you who actually own this unit already are well aware of the brightness of it. And it's not just terribly distracting, it's just a little softer would have been nice, and a little bit bigger font would have been nice. Whereas you look at the SL3 and you can see that the font is quite nice and big and readable, but it's not overly bright or anything like that. Okay, let's now have a look at some of the features and functions. Now the other thing is, with the anti-skid button on the SL3, it's a smaller switch, but it does have that locking mechanism where you've got to pull the switch out to push it down or pull it up to push it up. Whereas the WinWing one is a larger switch. It still has the locking mechanism and it's gold painted knob, which is bigger, and you still have to pull that down and pull it up. So I think maybe SL3 needs to change the size of the switch there, but that is entirely up to him. Most of the time, you're going to be sitting in your cockpit, you're never going to touch that switch anyway. It's not a switch that needs to be touched. In the simulator, it's silver, not gold. WinWing have gone with gold. I don't know what is more correct or not, but SL3's looks fine. Now, the other thing is that the landing gear lever is smaller and slimmer compared to the SL3 one. It's just that little bit slimmer. So for desktop, it works quite fine, and for the full cockpit, SL3 works quite fine as well. So now if you look at the functions, let's go to the Chrono. I'll operate the Chrono from the actual WinWing one. Now, as I say, they look the same in dimensions. The dimensions look exactly the same. The only difference is WinWing has that spring return on the run button, which is true to life. So it has the spring button, and maybe SL3 can change that down the line if possible. He just has a 3-position switch there to flick that in. All right. And let's go on to run, and we can see that comes up on both, and here you'll see the double dots as well. Now if we go to Chrono, start the Chrono up on both as well, you can see the double dots there, which unfortunately doesn't happen on the SL3, but you don't need it. You know what's minutes, you know what's seconds. It's just the difference in the digits as well. That is purely what it comes down to. Now if we change the GPS to the internal clock and then go to set. Now you can see on the WinWing one it's flashing, and we can use the set button to cycle through. Now it won't cycle through at the moment because this one, and they're both acting with each other, so I've got to change this one to set as well. Alright, now we should be able to do it. There we are, we can cycle through. Now you can see that it's flashing on the WinWing one, so you know which digit you're adjusting, which is what should be. But unfortunately on the SL3 one, they don't flash. So you can't tell which one you're adjusting. That's the only downside of the WinWing, of the SL3 Chrono. But again, it's not a feature that you're going to really be doing or worrying anything about, is you're not going to be setting that anyway. It's automatically will read the date and time from your computer, and you can see there's the date 16th of January 2026, and it's the same on the other one. So the only difference is the actual display modules, and I dare say that in given time that SL3 will end up improving on that design as well. Especially now that WinWing's out, who knows? They might be able to converse with WinWing and get some feedback and ideas there. Who knows? Maybe WinWing will actually go to SL3 and say, hey, look, your auto brake unit's nice, your Chrono, we can improve on that for you. Make a SL3 version of that. But if you, as I say, with the SL3, you'll get the terrain on ND and the landing gear, which all plug into the back of the auto brake unit. They all plug into the back of the auto brake unit. The Chrono's separate, but the terrain on ND and the landing gear plug into the back of the auto brake. Whereas WinWing have one circuit board for the Chrono and auto brake, and the landing gear plugs into that unit as well. But they don't have the terrain on ND, which is a shame. It's a real shame for the Captain one, anyway. Now, I suppose the other difference is the backlighting. Sandy's is sort of a warm white, whereas WinWing is that normal orange that we're so used to. So that's pretty much the only differences there, guys. So I hope this little video helps you out with some of that comparison and helping you make better choices and better informed decisions about which way you want to go. And if you want to go with the WinWing unit, or if you want to go with the SL3 units. As I say, the preference for me comes down to the fact, if you're building a desktop A320 simulator, go with WinWing. If you're building a full-size setup, go with SL3. You can use those adapter plates, which you can get on A320 DIY group or on Cool's 3D, and you can use those to put the WinWing gear into the SL3 MIP for the full-size MIPs, but you will not get the terrain on ND for the Captain. So bear that in mind. That is something that you'll have to create a separate terrain on ND to run through Arduino for MobiFlight. Now, if you're going to run, of course, with the Chrono here on WinWing, it does not run on MobiFlight yet. There is a configuration file for the Autobrake unit and Chrono buttons. They all work, and the landing gear lever with MobiFlight, but the display modules are not yet working with MobiFlight. That'll happen in time. So unfortunately, that has to resolve with SimApp Pro. Anyway, there you go, guys. I hope this video has helped you, and it can help you out with making informed choices, as I said. This is Frosty Nut, and I'm telling you all, stay frosty, and we'll catch you again soon. Thank you. Bye.